Welcome. Lesson 3.6 is all about speeding up long division, doing it faster, and finding remainders that way. We will use the remainder theorem for this, and we'll also talk about synthetic substitution, which is the style of synthetic division but is much quicker. So the idea behind the remainder theorem is that if you are given some polynomial, like we happen to have here, this polynomial 3x squared minus 18x plus 33, and it's divided by a linear factor, which means you don't have anything bigger than an x. So no x squareds or x cubes, just have a linear factor. Then this linear factor, if written as x minus a, then the remainder is f of a. Or in other words, this polynomial evaluated when a is plugged in. So if x minus a is the same thing as x plus 3, then that's the same thing as x minus negative 3. And so we're going to evaluate at negative 3. You can also think of that as what value makes this equal to 0? Well, negative 3 does. So we'll go ahead and evaluate that. To evaluate, I will take this f of x function and I will rewrite it with blanks inside. I add 18 and then I leave a space, and then I add 33. Now again, I'm evaluating this as f of a, and so the idea here is if my a is negative 3, then that's what I'm going to plug in here. And then once I have it all plugged in, I'll evaluate it. So I've taken that expression, I've typed it in here to a calculator, and I've got my answer right here, which says it is equal to 6. So I will go ahead and come back to this problem and I'll say, well, if a is the value you will use to evaluate, then a is negative 3. That's the value we used to evaluate. And r is the remainder. So what is our remainder? Well, right here in our calculator it tells us our remainder is 6. So our remainder is going to be 6. And we'll do a couple more. Here's our next one. Again, we're trying to identify a, which is the value you use to evaluate. And r, this one's kind of hard to see, but that should be like a little r. r, the remainder when f of x and g of x are those two things. So remember, r is our remainder. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, so I can see here that this is x plus 4, so I'm going to need to use negative 4. I will go ahead and plug that in. So I have negative 4 cubed minus negative 4 squared minus 11 times negative 4 plus 37, and I'll put that in the calculator. And once I have it in this calculator, I can see that my answer is equal to 1. So when I come back over here, I know that the value that I'm using to evaluate it, right, this a value is negative 4. That's what I used to evaluate it. Negative 4. And what was my remainder? What was my r? What was my remainder? It was 1. When I evaluated it, I got 1. So that is my remainder. That's a lot faster than going through long division. And if I taught you synthetic division, it's a lot faster than going through synthetic division. But since synthetic division is created as a shortcut, and you're allowed to use calculators, then this is going to be a faster shortcut for you by simply evaluating the function. Let's do one more. Okay, here's our last one. Okay, so our x value is going to be 9. I'm sorry, our a value, this a right here, is going to be 9 because we're subtracting a. And I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. So I end up with 9 to the 5th power minus 5 times 9 to the 4th power minus 31 times 9 cubed minus 52 times 9 squared plus 71 times 9 minus 62. And rather than do long division for all of this, I can evaluate it and it will tell me what the remainder is. So I'll type it into a calculator. So once I have it all evaluated, 9 to the 5th minus 5, 9 to the 4th minus 31, 9 cubed minus 52, 9 squared plus 71, 9 times 9 minus 62. It tells me that my remainder is going to be 10. So I can say my remainder is going to be 10. That's a terrible 10. My remainder is going to be 10. And what is my A going to be? Well, I already identified my A. My A was 9. That's the value I used to evaluate it. And I got that from down here by this linear term that we talked about. Good luck. It's as simple as that. Identify your linear term here, plug it into a calculator with it being evaluated, and you have your remainder.